Welcome back to r/entitled people. In today's video, some Karens don't understand how to conserve water. Our first post is by Angel698 and is an update of a previous post. Update: entitled sister wants custody of my baby. TLDR of previous post, sister-in-law found out that she can't have kids and demanded I gave her my baby every week. So my sister-in-law has been admitted to a psychiatric facility. In the comments of my previous post, I mentioned that her husband was seeking out counseling for them to deal with the infertility prior to this incident. After the incident, he sought out a psychiatrist rather than a counselor, and they have had their first session last week. I didn't get the specifics on what happened, but basically, she made some statements that the psychiatrist felt indicated she was a danger to others, my baby and me, and she was placed under an involuntary hold. My brother-in-law has been nothing but apologetic through the entire ordeal and has kept her away from us since the incident. Mother-in-law was staying with them to keep an eye on sister-in-law. She tried to leave the house in the middle of the night to see her baby. Also, brother-in-law has found her researching how to induce lactation, and she said it was to make sure she can feed the baby properly when I come to my senses to give her up. From what brother-in-law has said, seeing me breastfeed is apparently what triggered the entire episode. It was the first time sister-in-law was around the baby for any length of time, and she was holding her when she got fussy because she was hungry. Naturally, I took her to feed her, and this made sister-in-law feel inadequate, because it triggered the thought that she would never be able to do that, which led to the events of the last post. I'm grateful for all the advice that was offered on my last post, as some of it was really helpful. We won't be moving as it is not feasible for us at the moment, but we have taken extra steps with security both at home and at the kids' school/daycare. This whole thing is taking a toll on my family, but mother-in-law, father-in-law, and brother-in-law are taking care of sister-in-law. My husband and I are focused on ensuring the safety of our immediate family and minimizing the effect on the kids as much as we can. Yeah, I hope she gets better, but yeah, no, she needs to stay far away from those children. Our next post is by Quail Puzzle 1286. Middle-aged Karen parked in the mother parking spot and confronted me about how I'm not entitled to it. Most grocery stores here in Canada have a few expectant mothers parking spaces that are intended for pregnant women or parents with babies to use. They are generally closer to the door, usually beside the handicap spaces or cart corrals. I'm currently 7 months pregnant and was following a Lexus into the parking lot, and I plan to use one of these spaces. The Lexus ahead of me took this space. I didn't much think of it and parked about 4 to 5 spaces down from it. As I'm walking into the store, the woman in the Lexus, mid-60s, saw I was very visibly pregnant and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize," and laughed at me. I'm hormonal and it probably wasn't necessary, but I responded with, "You're obviously not that sorry since you parked in a spot you shouldn't have." She proceeded to get about a foot from me and scream at me, "F you, you're not entitled to this spot." I was caught off guard and started crying. Not proud of this, but the hormones are intense sometimes. Thankfully, bystanders don't like when people yell and physically intimidate a pregnant lady, and about 5 people came over to rip her a new one, telling her she was way out of line and I'm the only person they see who is entitled to the space. One gentleman, my hero, actually called her a Karen. She got back into her car and left. I just don't understand why she felt the need to confront me. Did she think apologizing for her intentionally shitty behavior would make her look less like a Karen? Like it like I wasn't going to say anything. I just assumed she needed it because she had a baby or whatever. But she didn't. So that's my crazy Karen story. Mild compared to most here, but it was honestly scary. Just Stacy73 adds in the comments, I was 8 months pregnant with my 5th daughter. Yes, you read that correctly. I pulled into my local grocery store expecting to park in the expectant mother spot. And to my shock, there was a very old dude just sitting in his car in that spot. As I painfully waddled past him, his window was open, so I asked him when he was due and pointed at the sign. My then 12-year-old daughter was horrified, so I dropped it and continued to walk inside. But man, I was really annoyed with that guy, lol. Down below that, Stepford ex-wife says, it's always old people. I just had a baby and forgotten something at the hospital, so I needed to return to pick it up. My husband dropped me off in front of the birthing center and parked in the garage to wait for me. In front of the birthing center are some spots specifically for laboring people. While I'm waiting for the clerk of postpartum to bring me my items, this old couple walks up to me and asks for directions into the hospital. I told them they couldn't get to where they were going since they were in the birth center, not the main hospital. They then explained they parked their car in the birth center spot to not pay parking and wanted to know how to get into the main hospital. I was just flabbergasted. The parking lot was filled with the parking lot was filled, so any laboring moms were out of luck since the old couple didn't want to pay a few dollars to park. The level of entitlement is out of this world. I did mention the purpose of the spots, and they didn't seem to care and just walked off to the main entrance. Our next post is by Redneck Angel 83. Entitled Ken felt entitled to my engagement ring. So, this happened a few months ago. I was doing my normal monthly grocery shopping at Walmart. I'm in the meat section getting what my family needs/will use for the month. I'm terminally ill, so my weight fluctuates a decent bit. My fingers swell and shrink depending on what kind of day I'm having. At this moment, my hands were as small as they'd ever get. While putting a roast in my cart, my ring slips off and clangs its way through the bottom of the cart and onto the floor, where it bounced a couple feet. Cue Entitled Ken. This man looks me directly in the eyes, picks it up, and puts it in his pocket. I was shell-shocked and froze. I mumbled a quiet thanks and can I have my ring back? He makes no move to give me my ring back until an employee makes it known that she has seen the whole fiasco happen and would be calling the cops if he didn't hand it over. He mumbles something akin to, I found it on the ground. It's mine. He immediately handed it to me despite his protest. Like, what in the legitimate hell made him decide that he could just take my ring? This reminds me of a time a boy in middle school tried to steal my jacket from under me. This reminded me of a time a boy in middle school tried to steal my jacket from under me. I'd gotten a nice Batman zip-up hoodie a few weeks before school, and the kids in my class loved it. One boy, too much. This day, I was sitting on a bench. Cool style. Ass on the table, feet on the bench, with the hoodie next to me, talking animatedly about something I'd seen on TV. This kid thought it would be brilliant to vault over the tabletop, swiping my jacket in the process. What no one could have expected was that at that precise moment, absolutely fully oblivious to this rapid arrival from behind me, I set my arms on the table. Elbow down, fist in the air. No sooner had I made this pose, I felt immense pain and heard screaming just behind me. The boy had jumped up behind me right as I put my fist up, and I had inadvertently punched him in the nose, foiling his plan to steal from me. I have 4 witnesses that did verify that 1. I was fully unaware he was approaching. 2. He had bullied me earlier in the day about girls aren't allowed to like Batman. 3. He did reach out and grab the jacket. It was in his hands. I still have it over 15 years later. I like this comment because it shows in the main story that that man is just acting like a complete child. I don't know what he was thinking. There's no way he could have gotten away with just taking something in front of a whole bunch of people. He's stupid. Our next post is by Baby Monsters 2. Woman tries to steal our table at a restaurant while we're eating. My husband, myself, and our almost 2-year-old were eating breakfast at a very small mom and pop diner that had 8 tables and 2 waitresses. My husband and I were done eating and had paid the bill. My little toddler was, of course, taking her sweet time and still eating, and we were contently sipping our coffees. A rush of people started coming in the door, and there were wait times gradually increasing with each new table added to the wait list. People waited outside on this day, and the waitresses offered them cups of coffee while they waited. A woman entered and said, I'll sit here, and gestured to our table. The waitress said, There are other people ahead of you. The woman argued back, What people? Where are they? And the waitress said, They might be walking outside. Can I offer you a cup of coffee to take outside? And the entitled woman responded, You can put the cup of coffee on this table, again gesturing to our table that we were still occupying. This continued on before finally the woman agreed to be added to the wait list. It was so annoying. I felt bad for the busy waitress to have to deal with her on top of trying to do the rest of her job. Edit. My toddler is a person. You all were once people too. We occupied our table for a totality of less than an hour. At this point, we were less than 10 minutes away from being finished. Thinking back, this small diner had 6 tables and a small counter for seating, which is why the wait times became long quickly. Some people are slower eaters, and for 10 minutes, you shouldn't be punished for that. Yeah, some people just eat slow. I've gone out with people, and like most of the table will be done, and there's just one guy still eating. People eat at various paces. And this is like a kid, so they should be eating slow anyway because everything is a choking hazard. Our next post is by Fire to the Trees. Karen demands I drive 24/7 to bring water to their rental house. I own a hot tub repair and maintenance company, and one of the services we offer is hot tub water refills, where we truck in the water to fill the tub if the well at the house couldn't produce enough or if there is a requirement. One of the wells at a home I service went dry. This happens, and it has a backup 500-gallon cistern. So the property manager asked if I could fill their tank. I said, yep, no problem. By the way, the well still does produce water, it's just not as much as needed. So usually if you can augment the water tank, then the well will recover and you are good. At the time my truck was in the shop, so I borrowed my parents' SUV, hooked up my water trailer, filled up the tank, and then transported it to their house. I would have normally declined, but the property manager was desperate and I'm the only company in town with water transport equipment. They are all good to go, and Karen is set to arrive that evening. Just a day and a half later, the house is run out. The property manager called me and asked if there was anything to do and if I could take a look. It's Sunday. The bulk water fill location is closed, and I had no truck/ability to tow. The property manager offered a new house to them to stay at, but the entitled parents didn't want to take a different house. So I took a small load of water over with my 1958 Jeep. I filled my small tank and trailer at my house and brought over 275 gallons. This was a total pain in the ass. Once I arrived, the entitled grandmothers come out and immediately start asking why I didn't bring 500 gallons and when I'm going to go get them some more because apparently they had 18 people staying there and they all needed showers. It's a pretty big mountain house. She told me that they expected me to drive around the clock delivering water for their entire stay. By the way, when I can't fill at the bulk station and can't use my full-size trailer, this is a total pain in the ass. It takes 40 minutes to fill the tank at my house, 20 minutes to drive, and 40 minutes to transfer. 18 people consume a ton of water. For reference, if I had my truck and full-size trailer, the whole process would only take 30 minutes. This is all because they want to stay in this house to have their ideal vacation, and any other house or houses would simply not do. Karen then said it was my job to supply them with everything they needed for their vacation, otherwise she would make sure I got fired. I was pretty friendly up to this point, so I should ensure my schedule was clear for the next week to support them and that I should go rent a truck to be able to haul water to them. I honestly couldn't believe it. I was being a professional and friendly person who was just trying to help out, but after those remarks, I couldn't take it. So I clarified with the two mother hens about what I was and wasn't going to do. Also, their adult kids were looking pretty ashamed at this point. 1. I said that was not happening, as I do work for the management company. I'm a third-party contractor who works on hot tubs. I was doing this property manager a favor by helping them out. The entitled grandmothers then threatened to tell the property management company to cancel my contract if I don't help them, and implied that as someone delivering water for a business, I need the money. 2. I told them to go ahead. My full-time job is in cloud technology, and this is a side business for me. I literally couldn't care less, and I was not going to drive around the clock to do that when they could move to another property. There was some more back and forth, but I finally told them that they would be stupid to try and stay here, that their experience they wanted to have in this house just wasn't going to happen. I went home, had a couple of beers, and enjoyed the rest of my Sunday. Apparently the next morning, they moved to another house. Also, the property manager gave them a full refund so their trip was free. Down in the comments, the filthy daughter-in-law says what I'm thinking. They were probably all taking 30-minute showers the way they did at home, instead of doing the sensible thing when you know the water is limited. Turn on the water long enough to get wet, turn it off, soap up, run the water long enough to rinse off, or to use even less water. Do a basin bath with a wet washcloth. Yeah, honestly, this is their incompetence is the reason they're out of water. They really should have been more conservative with it. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in to another Reddit video. If you would like to, click another video. And if you would be so kind as to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.